Okay, so in part one, I talked about how we could find the percentages of total time spent doing an activity, and we've got it down to something quite manageable here, just whole number percent, so that we can make it very simple on our graph. Okay, so we've got that all worked out, and it adds up to 100%. And like I said earlier, you may have to round down a little bit or something to make it do that, but choose the one that makes the most sense to do that with. Now, to find out how many degrees out of 360, that will give me the angle for each sector. If I take that decimal version of the percent, and remember that 7% is 0.07, and I multiply that by 360, that will be finding the 7% of 360. And it's going to give me 25.2. You may have 25.25, 6, 7, 1, 8, 5, 7, so forth, but just round to the nearest tenth, and I'll tell you why. You may have to make some decisions like we did in this column to making it add up correctly. So I do that with 4%. 4% of 360 is 0.04, not 0.4, don't make that mistake, and that's equal to 14.4 degrees. 19% of 360 is equal to 68.4 degrees. And so you keep doing this, multiplying the decimal version of that percent. For example, 15% is 0.15 times 360, and that will give you the number of degrees for each of those categories. So for example, up here, homework, 19%. If you look at 19% homework, I can see that 19% of 360 is going to be a 68.4 degree angle. And if you look at it, yeah, that looks about right. It's not 90, it's almost 70. Okay, so then we have done that for all of them. And here's what happens though. You get rounding errors. The thing you have to make sure of is that all of these degrees add up to a full circle, 360 degrees. Otherwise, you'll have a tiny little sliver, or you won't have enough room. You'll have overlap once you start plotting your sectors, your pie slices. So let's look at what I did. First of all, I'm going to not worry about tenths. So I'm taking 25.2 and I turned it into 25 degrees. 14.4, I rounded it down to 14. So just rounding based on if it's 5 or more, round up to the next percent. If it's under 5, just drop it off the decimal. And so here we have 68.4, it becomes 68. 54 is 54, obviously, nothing there. 104.4. Here, I rounded that up to 105. Originally, I had it at 104, and I had 39.6 at 40, but I added it all up, and it came up to 359. And so I thought, that's not going to work. So I just chose this one. I could have chosen 14.4 to round up to 15, but I just chose this one. Neither is perfect, so why not just pick one of them? And I made sure that they all totaled up to 360 degrees. So now, when I go to plot these, okay, I will have all my data right here, ready to go, and I will be able to draw those sectors using a protractor to fit in that circle. We're not going to do that yet. That's going to be done in class. It's going to take a little bit of time to work through it with paper on one with divisions first, but then have you create it on your own. Okay, so that's how to create a circle graph. Just to review, we have a circle graph. It has 360 degrees in it because it's a circle. And if you're dividing it up into sectors, these are called sectors or pie slices. Each one has a percentage that's labeled, and those percentages should add up to 100%. Okay, if you had just one category from 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock or whatever, then it would be a very basic pie chart. It would just be all one color, and it would say 100%. But I asked you to have at least 5, no more than 10. So again, we first wrote down our activity minutes, found the total number of minutes. To find the percentage for that labeling that we're going to need to do, divided the number of minutes spent divided by the total, 30 divided by 405, for example. And then we made sure it all added up to 100%. Then we multiplied the decimal version of that percent times 360 to get a number of degrees. When we add this all up, it must all add up to 360 degrees. That's it. So make sure you have all that data, and then we'll do some graphing tomorrow.